Hey guys, today I want to talk a little bit about why you should save in your 50s and 60s when you're retired. You know, a lot of people think, well, geez, in your 50s you should still be saving for your retirement. Well, some people like myself retired in their 50s, but you know what? We still need to save, and it's key. And I'm going to get into this why you should be saving both in your 50s and your 60s while you're retired. Okay, when you hit over here, obviously we're not going to have Medicaid, Medicare, and all that stuff. We're out of that system. So over here, you need to have extra money in your 70s and possibly even your 80s or 90s. And some of the people that are going to be living over here that are going to make it to their 80s or 90s might outlive their insurance. And that's where we need to really start thinking about times like that, because some of us will live to that time. And over here, the average age of death for expats is around 72. And we do have expats in our group that are 73, 75, and some are younger, some are older, but they're in their 70s. And that's a time when you really have to start taking care of your health and really start looking after yourself and make sure you stay healthy and make sure you're out getting exercise and stuff. But here's the reason why you need to save. Because when you reach that age, when you're in the 70s, that's when you're going to start having catastrophic issues like strokes, heart attacks, cancer. It's usually when that stuff comes up the most. And granted, it does come in your 50s and your 60s also, but that's why you also need coverage during that time too, but it's cheaper. But when you hit your 70s, and I looked at some of the plans and some of the costs for some of these insurances and stuff, they're really high. And you really need to get out there and look at some of these different plans. And I'm not going to mention how much they cost because each one's different. But you want to make sure that you have more coverage in your 70s and 80s and possibly even your 90s or more, you know, because of the fact that you're going to need it. You're going to need that extra care. But also you want to make sure that you have people that are going to be taking care of you during that time here in the Philippines, because most expats come over here permanently. They have no intention on ever going back home. Their intention is to stay here. Well, what I tell people is, and this is the reason why I came up with the sweet spot budget, was because you could save with the sweet spot budget. The $2,000 to $3,000 range gives you that in your 50s and your 60s, a certain amount of extra cash, okay? Now, granted, the $2,000 to $3,000 is a big spread. So if you were up at the top of the spread, you'd be able to save more. And if you're on the lower spread, you might have to cut back a little bit more so you can save for your 70s. But you can do that because the sweet spot budget gives you that extra room in there, okay? Now, the sweet spot budget is for people that have COLAs and stuff like that too. Hopefully you have a COLA or whatever, because if you don't have a COLA, then your money each year is going down. And this year here is going down a lot because of inflation and everything. And in the US it's going down by, I think, about almost 8 to 10% or whatever it is. So, you know, that's a big loss if you don't have a cost of living increase in there inside your money. So guess what? You have to be your own cost of living increase as far as saving for the future of those insurance policies, because they are going to go up each year. And they're going to go up because, number one, because your age is increasing, you're a bigger risk, number one. And number two, they're going to go up because of, guess what? Those increases in both insurance costs, food, and all that stuff. So, you know, hospital bills are going to go up. So that's what you have to be worried about. And you need to be on top of that stuff all the time. So I tell people, you need to put money in savings because you're going to need to subsidize some of your normal insurance bills with some of that money at some point. And it's probably going to be in your 70s when the bills start getting higher. And, you know, and they will get higher, and that's when you need your most coverage. Now, if you're not really that worried about it, and you figure, well, hey, I'm gonna pass, you know, at that point, I don't care. That's up to you. But for me, I think once I reach my 70s, I'm okay with passing away because I've already lived my life. I mean, here I am, I'm 59 now, and I got like 11 more years to go before I hit that 70 mark. But, you know, when I reach that 70 mark, I'm saving now, okay, for that time. And hopefully I can get really good insurance during that time. But I know when I reach 62, I'm getting more money from my Social Security. So I'll be in a decent spot that I can put some more money aside for that. And I do try to pack some money aside for emergencies in the future, and most of that's going to be insurance, because I know insurance is going to be very high. Now, hopefully, we don't get hit by inflation that much after all this stuff kind of calms down and gets tamped down a little bit. We don't know what the future is going to hold, and it could be a lot worse than what we think, or it could be a lot better than what we think. Let's keep our fingers crossed and pray to the one up above that we can get past all this stuff that's currently going on in the world. That's my thoughts on that. But God willing, we will get past all this stuff and things will be better. But I do think that for us as expats, we do have to sit down, weigh out our stuff, and say, all right, what do I need to do to get from point A to point B? And what will it be like? Will everything be okay? Will I have enough money put aside? Nobody has the true mathematical figures of how much you need to put aside or anything. So you have to kind of guess that, and because nobody knows what the inflation rates are going to be. Nobody knows how much. There's no magic number. So put the money aside, save it. Don't risk it. Don't put it like in stocks or anything like that, unless it's something that's a fairly safe stock or what have you that you know is safe. But I wouldn't throw it in the stock market. I would maybe put it someplace where you feel safe. Maybe put it in if you are going to put it in the stock market, put it into something that's got very little risk, or put it into a good mutual fund or what have you. As long as you feel safe and you feel okay with it. But I would also not risk all of it. I would put some of it surely in cash, probably half of it. So that way, God forbid something ever happens, you're never going to lose it all. But I think if you left it in the market, and like I said, I'm 11 years away from being 70. So that's 11 years of being in the stock market, okay? And anything can happen. So you're going to have to really weigh out your risk. And I'm not telling people to throw it in the stock market. There are other places you can throw money. Be careful. Be careful. Always be careful when you're doing this stuff, because like I said, you never know what's going to happen. Some of you might want to say, well, I'm going to keep it all in money. Well, if there's 10% loss due to inflation, you just lost 10% of your cash. And that's hard. It's hard to accept that kind of a loss, but at least you have that money in the bank. Now, like I said, there are other ways of doing that, but you have to figure out what they are and how much risk tolerance you have for yourself, and be careful with that. And always have some of that money aside for emergencies, and have that emergency fund in place too. The things that we've always talked about. But guys, save. Do not ever stop saving in your elderly years, unless you've got a good chunk of money sitting on the side, that will carry you through all this stuff and carry you through your 70s and 80s when you get older. Make sure you have all that stuff in place. If you have that, then you're golden. But most people don't. So that's why the sweet spot budget that I come up with, that I talked about the most here, is the most important budget to have. Because of that, it gives you safety. That amount gives you the safety to save and stuff like that. A lot of people have told me, well, Steve, geez, that's way too much. You don't need that money over here. No, you do. You do need that much here. Can you live on less? Yes, you can, but the safety goes away. When you go below that 2,000 mark, it quickly evaporates. Your safety net evaporates. Unless you're a millionaire or something like that, which is different. But we're not talking about that. We're talking about the average Joe that jumps off the plane, needs $2,000 to $3,000 to survive over here and be functional and to be safe and to stay healthy. Anything below that, it's risky in your older years. In your 50s and 60s, yeah, you're going to be running around like crazy, traveling, doing stuff, thinking nothing about it. But when you hit your 70s and you start slowing down, you know what? That $1,500 is not going to seem like that much when you're starting to pay higher insurance costs, higher medical bills, higher outpatient medical bills. So be aware of that. Save for it now. Don't be a fool. Because it's going to be the fools that are over here that will run into those issues. And we see those people here all the time. We see people that always run into some sort of medical problem over here. Because guess what? They didn't plan, they didn't save, they're a mess. And then they start looking for money from their friends or help from their family back in the US, and nobody's willing to give them the money because you know what? They didn't plan. Anyway, guys, God bless, take care. I hope that helps you guys a little bit. And I think it will help you understand a little bit about the sweet spot budget, why we discuss that so much on my channel. Is that because, like I said, it does get you through stuff. It gives you money to save. And as long as you're saving over here, you're doing good. And make a budget for yourself. God bless, guys. Take care.